Alex, I walked into the shop this morning and the air just smelled like expensive regret.
That is a very specific olfactory experience. What did you do? Or should I ask, what did you try to save this time?
I was looking at that walnut slab in the corner, the one where I tried to rush the pour last summer. It's got these tiny micro bubbles frozen in the center, looking like a colony of prehistoric gnats. I thought I could outsmart the chemistry by using a hairdryer. Turns out, thermodynamics doesn't take kindly to being hurried by a Conair 1600.
It's the classic river table trap, isn't it? Everybody sees those 30-second TikToks where a guy pours some blue goo, sands it for 3 seconds, and suddenly it's a $5,000 dining table. They don't show the part where the resin boils because it was too thick or the leak that drains $80 of product onto the floor.
Exactly, it's like magic until the physics kicks in. Today we're actually peeling back the curtain on that. We're deep diving into the river table, the techniques that actually work, and the absolute train wrecks that happen when you ignore the basics.
Good, because I've seen some rivers that look more like a toxic spill in a swamp. Let's start with the basics. If I'm a beginner and I want to build a table that doesn't end up as a very heavy, very ugly boat anchor, where do I start with the wood?
It starts with the live edge or waney edge. That's just the natural profile of the tree under the bark. People buy these beautiful slabs and think they can just throw them in a box and pour. But if that wood isn't seasoned and bone dry, I'm talking 8 to 12% moisture, you're just inviting the resin to peel off like a cheap sticker in 6 months.
So no fresh cut logs from the backyard?
Unless you want a table that groans and cracks like a haunted house, no. And here's the most tedious, annoying part that everyone skips: removing the bark.
But the bark looks cool. It adds that nature vibe.
It looks cool for about a week. Resin bonds to the bark, not the wood. Then the bark decides it doesn't want to be attached to the tree anymore, and suddenly your river is floating away from its banks. You've got to get in there with a chisel and a wire brush. You want to see the actual wood grain on that edge. Then, and this is a little trick, you scuff that edge with some 80 grit sandpaper. Give the resin some teeth to grab onto,
Are we really talking about sanding the parts nobody sees?
especially the parts nobody sees. That's where the structural integrity lives.
Okay, let's talk about the blue goo. I looked this up and there's tabletop epoxy and deep pour epoxy. They look exactly the same in the jug. Why can't I just use the cheap stuff and do one big pour?
Oh, you can. If you want to see a miniature volcanic eruption in your garage, tabletop resin is designed to be thin, like a coat of polyurethane. It generates heat as it cures. If you pour that stuff 2 inches deep, the heat builds up so fast the resin can literally smoke, crack, and turn a lovely shade of scorched yellow.
So deep pour is just slower?
It's the marathon runner of the epoxy world. It's formulated to stay liquid for a long time, sometimes 24 to 48 hours, which lets the heat dissipate slowly. It's also thinner, like water. So those pesky bubbles have plenty of time to float to the top and vanish before the resin gets too thick to let them go.
So if I use deep pour, I'm safe? No bubbles, no troubles?
Not quite. There's the double cup dance. You pour part A, you pour part B, and you stir like your life depends on it. Then, and this is the part people hate, you pour that mixture into a second clean bucket and stir again.
That sounds like a lot of extra cleaning for no reason.
It feels that way until you find a soft spot in your finished table. See, the resin on the sides of the first bucket never gets fully mixed. If you pour straight from that first bucket, you'll get these uncurried streaks that stay tacky forever. It's like finding a wet spot on a painted wall that never dries. It'll haunt you.
Okay, so I've got my dry wood, I've scrubbed the bark off, and I've got the right resin. Now I need a container. I've seen people use everything from plywood boxes to plastic tubs. What's the move?
Melamine is the old standby because it's flat, but epoxy loves it a little too much. You have to treat that mold like a high-security prison. I cover every square inch of the inside with sheathing tape, that red tuck tape. Resin won't stick to it.
Give it to me straight, Tiger. How many times have you had a leak event?
More than I'd like to admit to a lady of your professional standing. One time, I thought a few dabs of hot glue would hold the ends. I started the pour, went inside to make a sandwich, and came back to find 40 pounds of resin slowly migrating toward my table saw. It looked like a translucent blue glacier was swallowing my shop. I spent 4 hours with a scraper and a lot of colorful language.
So the lesson is, silicone the living daylights out of the seams?
Seal it like you're building a submarine. And then, once you put the wood in the mold, you have to clamp it down. Wood floats, Alex. It's a buoyancy lesson you don't want to learn while $300 worth of liquid is lifting your slabs into the air.
Let's talk about the pour itself. I see these gorgeous effects, the swirls, the cells, the ocean look. Is that all just luck?
It's timing. You don't just dump the pigment in and walk away. If you want those moving water swirls, you have to wait until the resin starts to thicken, what we call the gel phase. If you stir the mica powder in too early, it just sinks to the bottom and looks like a flat coat of paint. You have to wait until it has the consistency of warm honey. That's when you take a stir stick and draw your patterns. They'll actually stay put instead of settling.
And the seal coat. I've heard you mention that. Do you pour the whole river at once?
That's the get out of jail free card. Before the big pour, I like to take a little bit of resin and paint it onto the live edge of the wood. It's like a primer. It seals the pores of the wood so that when the big pour happens, the wood doesn't burp air bubbles into your clean river for the next 12 hours.
Wood burps, charming.
It's a real thing. You'll see a perfect pour, go to bed, and wake up to find a huge bubble stuck under a ledge because the wood decided to exhale at 2 a.m.
We've talked a lot about the doing. Let's talk about the fixing. What happens when someone listens to this, tries their best, and still ends up with a cloudy finish or a sticky top? Is it a total loss?
Almost nothing is a total loss in woodworking. It just becomes a different project. If it's sticky, you usually have to scrape it back and pour a thin flood coat of tabletop epoxy over it. If it's cloudy, it's usually because you didn't sand high enough. People stop at 220 grit and wonder why it looks like a foggy morning in London. For resin, you have to go deep into the I can see my soul in this grits. 1,000, 2,000, then a polishing compound.
That sounds like a lot of elbow grease.
It's the difference between a DIY project and a piece of furniture. You got to be willing to spend as much time finishing as you did building.
You know, it's funny. We spend all this time trying to control the resin, sealing it, timing it, clamping it. But the best tables always seem to have a bit of character that wasn't planned.
That's the heart of it. You're partnering with a living thing, the wood, and a chemical thing, the resin. You're the mediator. If you respect the rules of both, they'll play nice. But if you try to bully them into behaving, they'll push back every time.
Spoken like a man who has lost many battles to a bucket of glue.
I've graduated from the School of Hard Knocks more times than I care to count. But that's why we're here, right? To help the folks at home keep their resin in the mold and their sanity intact.
I think the big takeaway today is that patience isn't just a virtue in woodworking, it's a structural requirement. You can't rush the dry, you can't rush the mix, and you definitely can't rush the cure.
Spot on. If you're looking at the clock while you're pouring resin, you've already lost. Put on a good record, check your seals one last time, and just let the chemistry do its thing.
Well, Tiger, I think I'm actually brave enough to try a small serving board now. Maybe not a 12-foot dining table yet.
Start small, Alex. The mistakes are cheaper, and the lessons stick just as well. Just remember, seal the wood, double mix the goop, and for heaven's sake, check for leaks.
I'll keep the hot glue gun in the drawer.
Good call. Until next time, keep your tools sharp and your shop floor dry.
We'll see you in the Tiger Den.